Imagine this. You wake up one morning. Yesterday, your life savings were enough to buy a house. Today, they can barely buy a loaf of bread. Your salary hits your bank account, but by the time you reach the grocery store, it has already lost value. People no longer carry wallets. They carry wheelbarrows full of cash. And the scariest part? None of this is fiction. None of it is a movie scene. This is hyperinflation. And it has happened far more times than most people realize. Because people believe money is safe. Permanent. Untouchable. But history says otherwise. History says, when a nation begins to collapse, buildings don't fall first. Its money does. And when money dies, trust dies with it. Today, you're about to witness some of the most terrifying economic collapses in human history. Real countries, real people, real disasters. And every single one of them began the same way. Nobody believed the danger was real. Because inflation doesn't arrive screaming. It arrives quietly, slowly, like a whisper in the dark. And by the time most people notice it, it's already too late. Our first stop, Germany, 1923. The war was over, but Germany was about to enter another kind of war, an economic one. The Treaty of Versailles buried the country under impossible debt. Debt so massive it would take generations to repay, and the government made a decision. They started printing money. At first, only a little, then more, then so much that the entire system began to break apart. In the beginning, people felt relieved. There was money everywhere. Salaries were rising. But soon, reality revealed itself. The problem wasn't the amount of money. The problem was that the money itself had become worthless. Bread prices changed within hours. Workers rushed to stores the moment they got paid, because a few hours later, that same paycheck might buy half as much. One loaf of bread cost 200 billion marks. Yes, billion. Families burned stacks of cash inside their stoves for warmth. Because money had become cheaper than firewood. Children played with piles of banknotes like toys. And slowly, the soul of an entire society began to crack. Because this wasn't only about economics. People were losing faith in the future itself. And history showed what happens next. When people lose hope, the most dangerous voices begin to rise. Just a few years later, Adolf Hitler came to power. Economic chaos became one of the fuels behind his rise. Now, let's move to another country. Zimbabwe. Early 2000s. The nation was already struggling. Production collapsed. Agriculture was failing. The outside world isolated the country. But the government made the same mistake. They printed more money. And then reality itself began to unravel. Prices doubled every single day. Something you bought today would cost twice as much tomorrow. Then 3 times more. Then 10 times more. The government solution? Add more zeros. $10 million bills. $100 billion bills. $100 trillion bills. Imagine that. You're carrying trillions in your pocket, and you're still starving. Eventually, people stopped using their own currency entirely. They switched to the US dollar. Because sometimes a nation's money dies, and everyone silently accepts it. But the real tragedy wasn't the paper. It was the lives destroyed. Retirement savings vanished. Families lost everything. Millions fled the country searching for survival. And once again, the people who survived were always the same kinds of people. Those with real assets, land, skills, things that still held value outside the financial system. Now let me show you what may be the most horrifying example of all. Hungary, 1946. This level of inflation was almost impossible for the human mind to comprehend. Prices doubled every 15 hours. A product could have one price in the morning and a completely different price by nightfall. Stores stopped printing price tags altogether because prices changed faster than the ink could dry. The government kept printing new currencies, new bills, new names, but nothing worked because the problem wasn't a shortage of paper. The problem was that people no longer believed in the system itself. And once trust disappears, money becomes nothing more than paper. Then came Venezuela, a country rich in oil, slowly rotting from within. Years of corruption, uncontrolled spending, economic mismanagement. And once again, The same solution: print more money. By 2018, inflation passed 1 million%. People had to spend their salaries the same day they received them, because waiting even a few days meant becoming poorer. Store shelves emptied. Doctors fled the country. People returned to bartering goods just to survive. A modern nation, slowly collapsing backward in time. And in every one of these stories, the same image appeared again and again. The more paper money increased, the more real value disappeared. Then Yugoslavia. Chaos. Sanction. And again, the printing presses never stopped. Inflation exploded into the millions. People refused to use the official currency anymore, because everyone understood one terrifying truth: that money was already dead. And hidden underneath every one of these collapses was the same sentence: we can control this. But they couldn't, because one of the most dangerous lies in history is this: if we print just a little more money, everything will be fine. Now look around today. The world is carrying the highest debt levels in human history. Central banks have printed trillions for years, trying to hold economies together, trying to calm markets, trying to delay collapse. For a while, it seemed like it worked, until cracks began appearing in the system. Suddenly, everything became more expensive: food, rent, energy. And for the first time in decades, ordinary people began to feel it, to feel that something was wrong. And maybe the most terrifying question of all is this: what if this is only the beginning? Because hyperinflation never starts overnight. First, people become addicted to debt, then to money printing, then to currency devaluation, and eventually, reality itself breaks apart. So what should we learn from all this? First, real wealth is not the number sitting in your bank account. Real wealth is your ability to create value, your skills, your land, your network, your ability to survive when systems fail. Second, money is ultimately a belief system, and the moment people stop believing, even the strongest economy can collapse. Third, inflation destroys the unprepared. It arrives silently, it grows slowly, and it hits ordinary people the hardest. That's why financial freedom isn't only about becoming rich. It's about protecting yourself, because history has repeated the same warning again and again. Empires do not collapse overnight. First, their money dies.